To everyone joining us in person or online, welcome. We are so happy that you are here. We don't talk about this often, but on an average week, we have about 115 people who are joining us via the live stream. We don't see you in person, but we know you're very much with us, and it's such a privilege for us to pray with you. In a particular way, I just want to acknowledge Thomas and Simone, who have been with us faithfully every week since the pandemic, who are this week celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. And I know they have family who are praying with us today, so I just wish to send all of our blessings and all of our love to you, as well as to everyone who is praying with us online. And if you're in the neighborhood, we'd love to see you in person too. Jesus' response to Mary in today's gospel begs a question. We heard Jesus say, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. There is need of only one thing." Well, what is that one thing? He doesn't actually say. And I think Jesus doesn't give us an answer to this question so that we can put ourselves into the story and maybe find it for ourselves. At this point in St. Luke's Gospel, Jesus is making his final journey to Jerusalem, where he's going to offer his life for us on the cross. Some towns refuse to welcome him, but here in Bethany, Jesus finds a warm welcome in the house of Martha and Mary, who are the sisters of Lazarus. While Martha tends to get a bad rap, we should know that it was Martha and not her sister Mary who was the first to welcome Jesus. But unlike her sister, Martha didn't stay by Jesus' side. No, she got so caught up in the work of hospitality that she loses focus on the who she's doing it for. Now, contrast this with what we saw in the first reading. In the first reading, three men pass by, but they refer to them in the singular, so we think of the three persons of the Trinity. These three men representing God pass by Abraham's tent, and then he stops them. And it seems like he does everything feverishly to provide hospitality for them. We read that he gets water, he has Sarah start making bread, he runs to the herd to get a bull to slaughter, he gets milks and curd, he sets all of this before them, and then he continues to wait on them like a server. But the key difference between Abraham and Martha is this. Because for Martha, she makes her work the focus, whereas for Abraham, even though he's doing the work, he never takes his focus off of the people, the person, God, who he's providing it for. Martha's kind of like a workaholic. She gets so compulsively caught up in her work that it's all she sees. So again, she sees the work, but she's lost sight of who it's for. Maybe Martha sees her self-worth in terms of what she's able to do. But that's really not what's important. Because what's important to God is that she, or that you, are a child of God. God loves you not because of anything you've done, but because of who you are to him. A beloved child worth all of the blood that was poured out on the cross. So the real measure of self-worth is not what we do, but it's our relationships. And the highest of these relationships is our relationship with God. When you get to the end of your life, you're not going to look back with satisfaction or dissatisfaction on the amount of work you did or did not do. No, you're only going to look back with satisfaction if the work that you did do was meaningful to the people you care about. We think God first, others second, and then ourselves very much in the last place. Jesus' interaction with Martha reveals a fundamental longing that each of us have. We might refer to it in different ways, but it's universal for everybody. It's a longing for God. Whether you use these words or not, you and everyone has a hunger for God. A hunger for God that can only be filled with God. A hunger for God that can only be filled with God. And what do you get when you try to fill that hunger with something that's not God? Frustration. St. Thomas Aquinas says that wealth, power, pleasure, and honor are the four typical substitutes that people turn to instead of God. And in different ways, one or more of them trip us up. Because the more you seek your preferred substitute of something besides God, the more you continue to find yourself unsatisfied and frustrated. And it's a cycle that plays itself out in bizarre ways. Like the person who's desperately trying to appear younger instead of accepting the fact that they are older. Incidentally, I'm working on a side project with the Clergy Trust. Every year they pull together a video that highlights kind of the work of 3 priests and to help them raise money for the retirement trust. Anyhow, so we're filming this week, and they had the audacity to make me the middle-aged priest. The cycle of substituting things for God plays itself in many ways, including the many midlife crises that people have, be it a new sports car, career change, a new spouse, golf outings, or whatever. And the cycle of chasing after substitutes for God also, it plays itself out in the painful reality of addictions. That is, when a person gives more and more of themselves to the very thing that's robbing them of life. The wealthy industrialist John D. Rockefeller was once asked by a reporter, "How much money is enough?" And you know what he responded? He said, "Just a little bit more." And this is the truth we're talking about, because satisfaction in money or anything else is always just beyond our reach. Because substitutes for God can never fill that God-shaped hole we have in our hearts. And to one degree or another, we all have them. For Martha, it was work. But what is it for you? What is your preferred substitute for God? Maybe it's a lot of likes on your social media posts, or maybe it's your next promotion or your next achievement, or maybe it's appearing important or attractive to someone. Or maybe it's turning to that extra drink after supper. Or maybe it's something else that you're just embarrassed to admit. Whatever it is, though, when a substitute for God crops up in your life, Jesus' loving words to Martha are directed to you. Martha, Martha, Tom, Tom, Mary, Mary, Gerald, Gerald, you are anxious and worried about many things, but there's need of only one thing. And what is that one thing? Well, that one thing is the thing that you need most right now. I don't know what it is for you, but I do know that you can find it in closeness to God. That closeness to God that Mary experienced. Because God continually offers you a better path, a richer life. So 2 questions for your prayer might be this. First, is there anything in your life that needs to change so that you can experience a greater closeness to God? And the second question is a question maybe that you want to ask God in prayer. God, what do you want for me?